ready. Hi, I'm Patti Ricotta from Life Together International, and I'm here in beautiful Sebei, Kapchorwa, Uganda, in the district of Sebei. And we've been doing a conference on female genital mutilation. And one of the things that we talked about with our participants, we've got 35 pastors from different churches in the 4 different districts of the Sebei region. Where Sebei is the last tribe in Uganda to still practice FGM. But we do have some powerful ministers here who are ready to do what they can to bring an end to this practice. And I have one with me now, and he had some excellent ideas for how to help bring an end to FGM in Uganda. So I'm going to ask him to introduce himself, and then we'll continue the interview.
Thank you very much. I am Sewa, a head teacher in one of the schools in Kapchorwa District, as well as a church teacher in one of the churches in Sebei Dioceses. And throughout the seminar or the workshop, I have learned a lot. And I have discovered that there are so many bad things that used to happen. And one of the strategies that we could use in stopping FGM is, one, being a professional teacher. We teachers have a lot. We have many children whom we interact with. For example, in my school, I have over 700 children. If we could use a school as one of the channels, then we would stop FGM, because these are the children who, at the end of it all, they enter into FGM.
Let me ask you another question then, Dan. You were talking about districts that don't have schools where children can go. And from what I understand, what I've learned from all of you, is that girls stop going to school at a certain age. Am I getting that correctly?
Yes.
Can you talk to me a little bit about why they stop going to school?
They stop going to school because at a certain age, they now get friendship with boys. So because the schools are far and the parents' interest is not so much, so they stop going to school and opt for marriage. And in the process, they are also forced by the same boys for FGM.
About how old are these girls that stop going to school and go for FGM?
At the age of between 14 to 18.
14 to 18, and when they enter marriage at 14, how soon after that do they start having children?
They go up to 39 years
Wow.
old.
But I mean, they get married at 14. Do they produce that year? The next year? Do they wait several years until their bodies mature, or do they start having children right after marriage?
No, they produce immediately.
Immediately. So,
Yes.
so when children, and I would say a 14-year-old is a child in many respects, when these girls start having children at age 14, then they can't possibly go to school.
They
right?
can't.
So do you think that building schools will help girls decide to stay in school longer?
Yes. Building schools, most especially model schools for both boys and girls, would help them, so that when they are in the school, they can be helped by both their teachers, the pastors who visit the schools. So I think that if there would be model schools in each of the archdeaconries, then we would fight this FGM to the last.
Yes, so if we build one school, if we can find a way to build one school in each of the 4 archdeaconries, how many children would one school hold, and how big should a school be in order to bring in the girls?
Yeah, I would begin by saying maybe we begin with the secondary schools, and this one, because this one holds those girls between the ages of 14 to 18.
Yes.
Then it would maybe a good school would be for about 6 to 800
6 to 800
students.
I thought that you might say that because we find that whenever there is a school available, children want to go. Kids want to go. And if there was a school that was a model school, like you're talking about, then it would be one that would attract these girls. They would want to stay in school longer. And especially if they're in secondary, as you said, they can learn from their teachers that this is not what you should go for.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I'm hoping that God will supply the means to be able to do that. Now, what were some of your other ideas?
Another idea is that since I said earlier on that a church teacher as well, if we could have a system or a program of showing people the dangers of FGM in the churches, we would have people changing their behavior.
Really?
Gradually. And these are mainly the parents.
Yes.
And then also the girls and the boys who attend church service. Yeah.
So what Dan is referring to is that today we had Dr. Andabat come and talk about FGM. He's a Ugandan gynecologist, OBGYN, and he had some pretty graphic slides to show. And it was very interesting to me because the men sitting next to me were men who have gone to these ceremonies many times, and yet they were quite moved. It made them feel sick, and they would turn their head and close their eyes. And I asked him why they felt that these are two-dimensional pictures, but when they're there, they're actually seeing this happen to live girls. Live girls are lined up and cut. And I asked them why this was so moving to them. And they told me that part of it is there's this party atmosphere during the ceremonies, and some people are drinking and there's other things happening, and it desensitizes you. So what is it about the slides that you saw from Dr. Andabat today that made you feel that this is what would sensitize people rather than just talking? Yeah.
I felt, or I saw in my heart, that if we use the slides, it would be good because a person has 3 forms of understanding: seeing, hearing, and then feeling.
Yes.
So if we use the slides, I feel that people would learn by themselves, and they would get more than speaking.
Yes. That's a great thing. So that coming up with the equipment to provide these slides, Dr. Andabat has offered to give us the material, and so if we could just come up with the slide projector and the equipment to disseminate this, you think that would have a big impact?
Very much. It would have a big impact because people would be drawn not only from the church, even the outsiders.
Okay. Now, was there something else that you wanted to say?
I wanted to say that the other thing is using the locals, the local people, the leaders.
Yes.
So that at the end of the day, we would fight FGM from all dimensions.
Yes.
Hey.
So it takes, the local people are willing, and yet it's hard for them to move about. Transport is very difficult.
Yes.
The roads are very steep. We're on mountains, and the roads are very bad. They're red clay with big holes in them and so forth. So transport is difficult, and moving around takes time away from your other jobs. So we need to pray that God would help us provide transport for these people, and the time and the willingness to go about and do these things.
Yeah. So according to that point, I would say that as you come, we move from village or from parish to parish, because as we station ourselves, like here in St. Peter's, the people outside far cannot see.
Yes.
So if we have transport and maybe other facilities, we would take to the people inside the most primitive areas,
Yes.
like Teriet, Bennett, Kapenguria, where I happen to come from, Ngangata, and many others. Yeah.
Okay, well, I thank you very much for spending this time with me and talking these issues out. And we just hope and pray together that God will answer some of these really fine, helpful reasons, things that we can do to help bring an end to FGM.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Okay.